Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Wakahak Wadashi. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is your brother Ayash Gabar from the GMS Virginia camp, coming at you with another lesson that I pray that you find edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. The book of 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And again, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for the mercy that he has bestowed upon, his men. Because this devil is definitely in the works to make the will of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai come to pass. He's definitely, whether he is aware of it or not, he's doing the will of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. He's making prophecy come to pass. And even though this devil is the proud, even pride goeth before destruction, and the Holy Spirit before a fall. And this man is definitely fallen in it. And, as I said before, this is his last hoorah. He's making legislations, to bring about his new system. He's put people in place that would extend, his new system that he wants to bring about. And he's creating an infrastructure that he thinks is gonna keep his empire on top. But there's a trump card that he has not been able to put in, there's a trump card that he has not calculated for, and nor is he able to perform the calculation of it, and that's Yahweh Yahushai. This devil hasn't considered the Lord. This devil has not considered, the Creator. So he's making things happen all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai on the left hand side, to bring about prophecy. So this is an article off of shithitthefanplan.com, and the title of it reads, "The Rebels Trap: How the Government Plans to Monitor, Score, and Control You." Well, in a way, this is kind of like old news, because people have been wearing wearables for almost close to a decade, and the devil has been surveilling the people even longer than that. So this is kind of like old news, but they're making it known that they're gonna push wearables, because this is just the lead up to the MOTB in its full form, to get the people used to being tracked, being monitored, being tracked, being monitored, and being controlled. So this article came out July 21st, 2025, and I'm going to read a little bit of it and break out some precepts. And reading the article, it says, this article was originally published by John W. Whitehead and Nyesha Whitehead at the Rutherford Institute. When the states legalize and deliberate endings of certain lives, it will eventually broaden the categories of those who can be put to death with impunity. And this is a quote from Nat Hentoff of the Washington Post back in 1992. And that can't be further from the truth. Death with impunity is is right here at the doorstep. Bodily autonomy, the right to privacy and integrity over our own bodies, is rapidly vanishing. The debate now extends beyond forced vaccinations or invasive searches to include biometric surveillance, wearable tracking, and predictive health profiling. We are entering a new age of algorithmic auth- or authoritarian control, where our thoughts, moods, and biology are monitored and judged by the state. We're entering a time where you have no say over what you do with your body. You have no say on where you go. You have no say on what you eat, and you have no say on where you live. These devils can be quoted as saying, "You will have nothing and you will be happy." And if you people actually think that they're joking about this, then the joke's on you, because not only do they believe this, but they're making that quote come to pass. This is the dark promise behind the newest campaign by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., President Trump's Secretary of Health and Human Services, to push for a future in which all Americans wear biometric health tracking devices. At first, it starts externally, and then it goes beyond the surface of your skin to a internal device that you're not going to be able to pull away. Yeah, okay, you could do some things, to try to get rid of it, but ultimately, if you agree to have this device that would cause the book of Revelations chapter 13 and 16 to come to pass, then you're going to be destroyed, period, point blank. And I'm going to break out that precept a little later, after I read a little more. Reading on with the article. Under the guise of public health and personal empowerment, this initiative is nothing less than the normalization of 24/7 body surveillance, ushering in a world where every step, heartbeat, and biological fluctuation is monitored not only by private companies but also by the government. And the government is being not controlled by AI, but AI is doing a lot of tasks that normal people would typically do. For example, your doctor, with every visit, would take certain health information from you, like your heart rate, your blood pressure, your your dietary your dietary regime, or whatever, your weight. Well, now they're removing that privacy that you've had with your private doctor and putting it in the government's hands, where now the government is able to monitor your blood pressure, your heart rate, your dietary regime, all of this information, to the point where you will be subject to the AI system. Artificial intelligence will play a major role in your day-to-day lives, if it ever came to that. But we all know that Yahweh Shem Yahushua is about to put an end to what this devil is planning on doing. And that's another lesson within itself. Reading on, under the guise of public health and personal empowerment, this initiative is nothing less than the normalization of 24/7 body surveillance, ushering it in a world where every step, heartbeat, biological fluctuation is monitored not only by private companies, but also the government. In this emerging surveillance industrial complex, health data becomes currency. Tech firms profit from hardware and app subscriptions. Insurers profit from risk scoring. And the government agencies profit from increased compliance and behavioral insight. So they're lumping everything up into one they're lumping everything up into one infrastructure, one system that regardless to where you are in the world, you will have to fall in line with this system. You will have to, get in order to make it or even survive within this system. And that is to constantly be surveilled. And unfortunately, you do have those people who are going to fall right in line with this new infrastructure because they can't deal with change. And that's the one thing that people don't like. They don't like change. They like things to stay just the way it is because to them it's rudimentary. They don't have to think. They don't have to, they really don't have to think outside the box. Because if you do the same thing on Tuesday that you did on Monday, it's rudimentary, and if your week goes the same way every day, all day, it's rudimentary. You don't have to think. But the minute a situation arises that throws you off of your routine, then you have to think, and by that comes stress. That comes, incomes, unwanted issues. For example, in my case, I work in a tech field where I work around machinery, automated machinery, and Monday, or my Tuesdays are never like my Mondays, and my Wednesdays are never like my Mondays and Tuesdays. So everything is constantly changing. So in my mind, I've learned to adapt with the situation as it rises, so that if I did have a situation in the real world outside of work that is outside of the norm of what most people would call normal, I know how to deal with it. Whereas most people would stress and lose their fucking mind over small situations that ultimately they have no control over, because they don't understand the ways of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, in the sense that, your ways are of the Lord. The path you take is the path that Yahweh Bashem Yahushai ordained for you to take. So most people would just lose their fucking mind. Well, with this, if you're not a part of this system, and you're not doing what you did, every day, all day for your entire life, you're gonna flip your wig, because now you have to change. And as I said, people don't like change. And that's just one of the things that's really gonna mess people up. Oh, now I gotta change my life, and the thing is, every day is going to be a changing process. Just because you were safe on Monday don't mean that you're going to be safe on Tuesday. And just because you eat on Monday and not on Tuesday, and you are able to eat something on Wednesday, don't mean that you're going to have something to eat all next week. Things are going to constantly change, and a lot of these people are going to have a hard time adapting to change, which is why they're able to do with what they're able to do, because these people are just cattle to them, and they treat them as cattle, you know. And it's just as simple as that. Anyhow, reading on with the article, yeah, and also a lot of this is for profit. You know, they make money with your sickness. They make money out of your health. They make money out of where you live and what you. They make money off of you from any and everything, to the point where you are no longer a person. You're a commodity. You might think you're a person, but to them, you're a commodity. You're an asset. You know, hell, you're sold on a stock exchange, which goes to show you how much they actually think about what they look at you as. Let me see. Uh, Reading on with the article. This coverage of health, technology, and surveillance is not a new strategy, and it's not. They've been surveilling you ever since 911, and even before that. You know, they've been surveilling you, Jakes, ever since they were able to corral you in projects, housing, and wherever you lived. You've always been surveilled, and you would be foolish to think that you've never been watched. Hell, you're being watched now because this is a very crucial time where, this devil understands that he had but a short time. You know, so this is not a new strategy. It is just the next step in a long familiar pattern of control. And that's what they've done. They've actually surveilled you for so long that you've actually become used to it. They've surveilled you for so long that, it's a part of your day to day. Yeah, okay, you're driving down the road and you got cameras at streetlights, and, they say that, it's for detecting accidents. No, it's far beyond that, because these cameras are so technologically advanced that they can actually pierce through the window and take a picture of you and actually read the little logo that you have on your shirt. So they've been surveilling you for a very long time. Now they're ready to put, you know, they're ready to put the tire to the road and let it run and let it roll. And this is just one step closer to uh, uh, um, their ultimate system, in which everybody will be, you know, chipped. Anyhow, reading on with the article. Surveillance has always arrived dressed as progress. Every new wave of surveillance technology, GPS trackers, red light cameras, facial recognition, Ring doorbells, Alexis smart speakers, have been sold to us as a tool of convenience, safety, or connection. But in time, each became a mechanism for tracking, monitoring, or controlling the public. And that's why these people are going to flip their wigs when they have to give up their phones. A lot of them won't give up their phones because they can't live without them. But your phone is your number one form of surveillance. Not only does it have a GPS tracker within it, it's got a camera where that every time you look into it, your camera is taking a picture of your fucking face, and it's got a speaker on it. So every time you're talking, your camera or your phone is listening. And now with the advent of AI is just doing it off the rip. So you've always been surveilled, and you've always been told, yeah, it's for the better good. The you know the fed, the better good of who? Who is this benefiting in the end? Well, the people are starting to realize that it's starting to benefit, you know, uh, um, the elite, you know. But all things must come to pass that are prophetic. Let me see. Reading on, what began as voluntary has become inescapable and mandatory. The moment we accepted the premise that privacy must be traded for convenience, we laid the groundwork for a society in which nowhere is beyond the government's reach. Not our homes, not our cars, not even our bodies. So that's that's the beginning of this devil's frontier, to make everybody a android, to put devices in them that that at the end of the day is a means for control, you know, which which is very prophetic, and I'll get it. The book of Revelations, chapter 13 and verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. Yeah, okay, right now it's starting off as a wearable. And as I stated earlier, most people already have wearables. Fitbits, smartwatches, Apple Watches, the Samsung watch, whatever it is. People have wearables already, and this is just one step closer to making their they're making their enterprise that much more easier, because we have become acquainted with technology to the point where we actually think that technology is, it's going to help us. We're at the point where we've depended upon technology for so many things that without it, a lot of people seem to think it would take you back to the 17 to 1800s, which is crazy, because with the laws that's being passed, as far as slavery and segregation and shit like that, this devil actually wants to go back to the 17 and 1800s. But I digress in that, Reading on the book of Revelations, chapter 13 and verse 17, and that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And that's exactly where things are going, and that's where things are headed. Things are headed down a path where, this major prophecy is about to take place, and the groundwork is being laid. The groundwork for digital money is already laid. The groundwork for digital surveillance is already made. The groundwork for digital everything is damn near already laid. The only thing they need now is a fucking event that'll take the people over the top to actually want to take it, for safety, for food, for whatever their reasons are. Health. Oh, I need my medication. Yeah, okay, I'll take it. Oh, I need to protect my kids. Oh, yeah, I'll take it. Oh, I'm hungry. Yeah, I'll take it. But the elect is going to lean upon Yahweh Bashem Yahushai in that day, while 2/3 of you jakes just lose your fucking brain. So I'm going to end up on this. The book of 1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 6. Humble yourselves therefore under the mighty hand of the Most High, that he may exalt you in due time, casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. And that's the time that we're entering into. This devil is looking for whoever he's able to devour of the nation of Israel. He's putting systems in place that will cause a lot of people to lean upon him instead of leaning upon Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. You know, the elect is going to lean upon Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, but 2/3 of you Jakes are just going to be destroyed within this system. Because if you take this man's mark, you're actually saying to the Lord that you chose him over your power. And that's going to bring about your destruction, you know. And they're saying, well, the scriptures also says that, you know, anyone who have taken this mark will have a, you know, I want to say a cancerous sore. You know, they're going to have a sore about them. And more than likely it's going to be cancer, because radio frequencies is a form of radiation, you know, depending upon the frequency as to which it's being transmitted. It creates cancer. And with and with the way Jake's diets are strictly acidic, cancer is just gonna fucking, you know, wreak havoc on Jake. So yeah, you know, we're definitely in a time where the MOTB is here. It's just waiting for the event for it to get here. And this devil is just making up his final touches so that when it's time, you know, that cruel Lord that Yahweh Shem Yahushua warned us about is really going to fucking show his horns. And if you think he's not showing his horns now, again, you people are delusional. You know? And so with that, you know, I'm in this lesson off, and I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.